probably most of us, we are not as pretty as he was. But time and time again, God has proved that he moves world events not with power, but with people who are willing to be used by him. It was not General Moses that freed the Israelites from Egypt. It was Shepherd Moses. It was not Nicodemus of the Sanhedrin that he was chosen one of the 12 disciples. For the disciples were chosen people who were just simple fishermen. Our God's specialty is weak and insignificant people. He uses them and changes with them the world. So if you feel insignificant, if you feel untalented, then you are great material for God to use. And the next point that I would like us to see is that Esther's work was not danger-free. She still had to go out of her comfort zone. She had to face great danger to her life. When she went to see the king, she was committing, as we said, an offense punishable by death. Only the king's response saved her life. And before you think, of course the king would save his wife's life, remember the background of the book. Xerxes dropped his first queen because she was not submissive enough to him. Now Esther, she was going on her own accord to the king, and Esther was appearing as rebellious as Queen Vashti was, his previous wife. God has a plan for us. And yes, he can use us. But that plan may take us out of our comfort zone. Now, it is not likely that any of you will face the death penalty in Finland. As far as I know, there is no such thing in Finland. By doing God's will, at least. But you may face ridicule. You may face contempt. You may face discrimination. We may become verbally abused. Don't think that the abuse will come only from the unbelievers. You know, I have been ridiculed by so-called Christians and by atheists alike, but a lot more from the first group. A lot more I have been ridiculed or persecuted by Christians. Now it is sad that sometimes the greatest abuse comes for people who profess to follow Christ. Unfortunately, sometimes the abuse comes from brothers and sisters. It can be more subtle, but it hurts the most. Because we have our defenses down. We expect a safe environment with other Christians or within our church. We are our church, this is our church family, we say. But then the hurt is greater than when it comes from the world. Some are worried when they face persecution. They fear that God has abandoned them. I have a totally different view on that. My opinion is that you do Christianity right. My opinion is that if you do Christianity right, if you live a godly life, then you will suffer. If you don't suffer, probably you don't do things right. This is why trials and heartaches should not depress us. They tell us we are annoying the devil enough to worry about us. And because he's worried about us, he throws difficulties at our paths. Living is tough. Sometimes the repeated hardships, failures, hostile conditions around the world make us desperate. What's the point, people say? What's the point on keep on living? Well, I can tell you where I find encouragement in such times. Even though I'm away from my family, who are in Greece, not my immediate family, but my parents, my brother, my sisters, even though sometimes life throws situations that I cannot control, the idea that God has a plan for me makes it all worthwhile. My life has meaning not because I see it or I can find it, but because I know God has woven that meaning into my life circumstances. Esther thought that the meaning of life was to be pretty and to be a queen. She found out that God had a far greater plan for her, even greater than being a queen. She was to save her whole nation. I don't know what plans God has for you. One thing I know is that our God plans big. Who knows why he has made these circumstances so you are in the middle of Finland in the 21st century. I don't really why I am here, but I know that he has a plan for me. I know that he has a plan for you. And it may involve hardships, but God's plans are grand. God's plans are unpredictable. And you know what? It's fun to try to discover God's plans. Happiness comes from discovering and following God's plan in your life. You will find meaning and fulfillment with Him no matter where you live, no matter what circumstances you find yourself into. Amen.
Kiitos Ioannis saarnasta. Jumalalla on todellakin suunnitelma meitä varten. Loppulauluna lauletaan laulu numero 531 ja seistään.
Let us end with the Lord's blessing in English and in Finnish. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Herra, siunatkoon sinua ja varjelkoon sinua. Herra, kirkastakoon sinulle kasvonsa ja olkoon sinulle armollinen. Herra, kääntäkoon kasvonsa sinun puolesi ja antakoon sinulle rauhan. Isän ja Pojan ja Pyhän Hengen nimen. Amen.
Jumala on suuri ja hän on kutsunut meidät tähän paikkaan elämämme kautta tuomaan kunniaa hänelle. Pyydän teitä kaikkia alakertaan korneriin syömään ja sen jälkeen tänne kirkkoon takaisin jatkamme aiheesta Loving God in the challenges of life. Tervetuloa. Ollaan yhdessä ja kiitetään Jumalaa. Korneriin pääsette